All right, Amy Isom grew up knowing she wanted a family down the road, preferably a big one with four or five kids. But things didn't work out as the software company executive had planned. So let's go back to the Fox Medical Team's Beth Galvin, who has Amy's story.
In her late 20s and early 30s, Amy Isom's career was taking off. She was single, successful, not ready to think about motherhood.
And then once I hit about 32, definitely started thinking through it and thinking, what's my plan going to be? How am I going to make this happen?
So at 34, Isom decided to freeze some of her eggs here at Reproductive Biology Associates, or RBA, in Atlanta.
And it felt like kind of an insurance policy to buy a little more time.
2 years later, Amy met Jeff Isom, and by 38, they were married, ready to start their family.
I didn't actually think I would have to use those frozen eggs.
But after 3 miscarriages and an ectopic or tubal pregnancy, Amy and Jeff turned to Dr. Scott Sladen at RBA, who had helped Amy freeze her eggs years earlier.
We decided instead of using those eggs, we would go get more eggs to try to stockpile enough to hopefully build a family.
The Isoms began the first of 7 in vitro fertilization cycles, using both Amy's stockpiled eggs and fresh ones. But each time, the same problem. Amy's eggs would be fertilized with Jeff's sperm, but the embryos wouldn't survive long enough to be transferred back to Amy. The 2 times they did, she failed to get pregnant.
Her losses, as many of our patients, are related to egg aging.
In a lot of ways, I felt like a failure to my husband. In a lot of ways, it's kind of often a private struggle. You don't talk about it too much when you're going through it.
By 2017, Amy was 40 and still not pregnant.
I know the emotional toll that it was taking on her with each failure that we went through, and I didn't know how many more of those she could handle.
So after 2 years, the Isoms decided to try one more time.
And it was just really a final push to see where we can go. And we got pretty aggressive towards the end there in terms of how we produced the pregnancy. We took some risks.
This time, Amy's eggs were retrieved and fertilized. Then the embryos were quickly frozen while they were still viable. 4 were thawed and transferred to Amy.
When we got the positive results, I started crying.
Amy was pregnant. Savannah was born April 15th, 2018 by cesarean section, and Jeff handed her to Amy.
And to see my wife kiss her daughter was one of the greatest moments in my life.
Amy Isom is at long last a mom.
Every day I wake up and I am thankful in a slightly different way.
Beth Galvin for the Fox Medical Team.
Now, the cost of the Isom's journey is staggering. They estimate they paid about $70,000 out of pocket. Amy's company covered an additional $15,000. The Isoms are grateful for that because many couples don't have coverage for fertility treatments.